Oh, there we go. There we go. I was on JavaScript Jabber earlier, and I use shush so that when I'm not actually speaking, random noises that I might make, farting, picking my nose, that sort of thing, don't bother anyone. And I had left that on. So, okay. Hello, 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 and welcome back, everybody. It's been a while since I've done a Dash stream, and the reason for that is that now I was reconfiguring some of my schedule, my work schedule. Now I am actually going to be doing more work for Dash. I've stepped down from my full-time role for the time being, and so I just was taking care of some other stuff and working on some personal projects while I was getting that sorted out and figuring out what the future was looking like for me. And it's getting a little warm in this room, so I'm going to take the jacket off. And welcome, Ethan. Anytime I see you on, actually, I don't think I've yet seen you on while I have been streaming, ending the stream. Otherwise, I would have raided you, because I was going to say I raid you every time I can, but I just raid my people every time I can, and you haven't been on while I've been getting off yet. But welcome. So let me give a recap of what this project is and where it's going to go next. So first, let me open up the issues, because it's been a while, and I don't even remember what we're doing next for certain anyway. But most of, as far as I can tell from my experience, most of the tools related to blockchains are forks from Bitcoin, and most of them don't have the chicharrones to go it out on their own. So they try to keep the main line trunked off of the Bitcoin stuff, and it inhibits innovation and it keeps the code old and stale. So there's a lot of code out there that's just it's not written in the paradigm of JavaScript, and it relies on libraries that we no longer need, because if you look at what's that site, caniuse.com, if you look at it, things like BigInt used to not be something that you could use. Across the board, it was just red, 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 and the only thing green was maybe Chrome and maybe Firefox, right? But times have changed. I mean, even Android browser, which is the new Internet Explorer, has support for this. So when you're looking, and I think it says global 93.76, I don't know how that breakdown works. Probably some banks that are still pinned to Chrome 4 or something like that, because there's not 10% of people using Internet Explorer. Opera Mini, that's a lot of game systems and stuff, so I think of the Nintendo Wii U and maybe the PlayStation 3 and 2 or something like that. So I don't know. I think that number sounds sickeningly low. You can imagine if 7 out of 100 people can't use her web page, that's terrible. That's a terrible web page. But I don't know why that number looks so low, because when I look across the board here, it looks a lot better. So I'm guessing it's maybe some feature phones or something. Anyway, that's not what my point is that things like BigInt that are necessary for any cryptographic functions did not exist back when Bitcoin was first going through the first hype cycle. And since Dash is it's kind of weird, because Bitcoin forked to stop following its roadmap, and Dash is more of a continuation of the original Bitcoin roadmap to become useful as a currency, not as an investment scam. But when the VCs got involved in Bitcoin, they derailed it, and so people say, oh, Bitcoin's never changed. That's not actually a good thing, because it was supposed to. The white paper outlined kind of a path to, let's turn this into a currency, not an investment scam. Anyway, so that aside, BlockTX, what BlockTX is, it's a complete rewrite based on actually looking at how, not looking at the spec of how a blockchain transaction should work, although I did look at the specs as well, but based on how blockchain transactions actually work, because there was a lot of stuff that was theorized in the spec that in reality doesn't need to get used and isn't used. And so we have in Dash, we have these old libraries that rely on tons of dependencies like BigInt substitutes and other substitutes for things that we now have native, and they aren't relevant or important anymore. So this is, and this is not going to work for every use case that all of the Dash community developers would want to support. And I don't want it to become that either. I want this to be just specifically for the way that people would use a wallet. So there are some features that I don't include that should be included. But back to the point, what I was saying is that I've taken actual inputs and outputs from transactions, looking at them, breaking down the binary. And in fact, there's a tool here that if you want to look at the hexadecimal version of a binary, you can run this tool and it will print out for a payment transaction, because there's lots of different types of transactions that you could have, and I'll run this in just a second to show it. But you can print out for a payment transaction what that transaction looks like, and that's all that I'm concerned with BlockTX. So what took me down this rabbit hole is JojoByte and I have been working on some Dash Wallet tools, not for Dash Wallet core, but for wallet tools that we're building, some of which may be included as part of one of the platform wallet components, and one that is just apart from that entirely, that is of primarily my invention, but as we get some more collaboration on it, you know, other people's thoughts and feelings and whatnot might get more involved. Hopefully not feelings, hopefully just thoughts. I'm anti-empathy. Stick with the facts. Anyway, of course, I am an emotional being as well. Anyway, the point being that this is pared down to just the things that are necessary for payment transactions, and it doesn't support the myriad of use cases. And there's a lot of other higher level tools that take on some of the responsibilities of what transactions originally would do as well. So there's that. Anyway, I'll go ahead and just clone this. I think I already have it cloned, but I might just clone it again so that we've got a completely fresh start. And we're going to start unwinding. There's a number of other tools that I've been working on last year, oh so long ago. Some of those include, let's see, we had particularly Wallet.js is the wallet that this is my ideal wallet that I'm working on. Dash site, this is a tool for being able to interact with the Insight API, the Dash flavor of the Insight API. And again, with a similar approach where it's pared down to just the stuff that we actually need for the stuff that is important, and it's not the whole universe of everything that you could ever do. And then Crowd Node as well. So there's two versions of the Crowd Node API. One is considered to be trustless. The other is considered to be custodial. And this is built on components that rely on Dash Core, which is a fork of Bitcore, which is all of this old crufty code that it just needs to be amputated, because we don't need those things anymore. We don't need the shims and a lot of the functionality. Like I said, now we live in a world of HD wallets. Anytime you get an app on your phone that's anything related to cryptocurrencies, they all use the HD wallet spec. So there's some stuff in the transactions that actually, when you consider that we have HD wallets, you don't need a lot of those options anymore. It wouldn't make sense to use them. So there's stuff like that. Anyway, with all that, yeah, so the next thing that I wanted to do, this was from, I wish it would, okay, it does tell you. So this is from literally New Year's Eve. So what I wanted to do next was actually start implementing this in Dash site and Crowd Node and the Dash wallet. Let me actually retitle that. That has the wrong thing there. Crowd Node. And then see how it feels and if I need any changes to the way the API works. That's kind of where we're resuming, or not just kind of, that is where we're resuming on this project. So feel free to ask questions. You can ask me questions about JavaScript, about cryptocurrencies, about Rust, Zig, and Go. I actually prefer, Go is my favorite language, and Zig might be number 2. But I tend to write mostly in JavaScript. So anyway, going into projects, Dash utils, and then do we already have BlockTX in here? We do. Let me see if there's anything that is not committed. Oh, I was trying to get it to work with bundle phobia because the state of JS. Oh. So this library will work perfectly in browsers, in Webpack, in Node, and a bunch of other stuff without any transpilation or modification. It'll work as is. But then bundle phobia is trying to do extra stuff to account for various package managers, and there's just too many of them to be able to write code that can handle all of their edge cases. And then your vanilla JavaScript would just get so bloated with just weird crap that it wouldn't feel worth it. So I was trying to figure out how to get this to work so that bundle phobia could tell what it was. And I had to make some modifications that were relatively minor, but then they break my trifecta is, or quadrifecta is Vite, Webpack, Node, browser. So those are my 4 targets. And outside of that, I don't want to have to add extra shims because it gets too complicated to support all the environments. And I really don't, there's no need for transpiling in the modern age. We have transpilers because I don't know all the reasons actually, but with the advent of HTTP2, you pretty much never need a transpiler. I know there's a lot of people that use features that they think are JavaScript, but actually never became part of the JavaScript specification and never became deployed in browsers. Those things I think we just not use, and then we don't need transpilers. But here we are. Anyway. Yeah, okay, so good. There's nothing left to do here specifically. Let me go back to looking at my V1 proper goals. So bike shedding on the names of things. This is one that so far every suite of tools, even within the suite, there seems to be no consistency, again because Bitcoin has this long legacy. I don't know where I've got the headphones on. I'm not actually listening to the music with y'all. But we have this long legacy of code, and a lot, things changed, and so up to this point there doesn't seem to be any suite of tools that is self-consistent where the same name is used consistently throughout that tool suite. So one of the things that I want with this tool suite is that it should be internally consistent. Since the other ones are not internally consistent, you've got the XKCD competing standards. There we go. There are 14 competing standards. 14 ridiculous. We need to develop a universal standard that covers everyone's use cases. Yeah, situation. There are 15 competing standards. So somewhat this, but the thing is, I really don't care about being consistent with everyone else's use case. I just care about being consistent with the set of use cases that we're developing for Dash developers. The set of use cases we're actually developing for. Okay, and then some of these other things, yeah, names of things. I think that this, okay. So I think that this is the correct thing to do, is we're going to go through and get the ergonomics right first, and then we can bike shed a little bit more. But I'm tempted to say this is one of those things in English. Do we hyphenate? Do we not hyphenate? Front end. I work on the front end. I'm a front end engineer. It's a front end framework. Is it hyphenated? Is it a space? Is it no space? Some of that stuff crops up in just our regular English too, but I'm tempted to just go the route of, if the full unabbreviated name would have spaces in it, if they're separate, distinct words, then title case them, or camel case them rather, because I guess camel cases it starts with a lower, and title cases it starts with an upper. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what my thought is on that. I think that's the way that it is internally consistent right now, but we'll have to double check later. So with that, let's head on over to Dash site. Again, this is like the Insight. If we go to insight.dash.org, this actually uses 2 APIs. It uses the current insight.dash.org, and it also uses another one that we as Dash Incubator run, because there's inconsistencies right now. Dash was updated to version 18, and Insight has not been updated. So I have to figure out, well, we may need to make a PR again to this, because I thought I had made a pull request for everything that I needed to, but there might have been something that was left over. So currently, the official Insight does not work with the current version of Dash that was deployed 3 months ago for the payment API. But this is what Dash Site is meant to work with, to be able to get data about transactions, about addresses. So here's a transaction ID. Click on that. Oh, that just takes us here because we're already at this one. So here's a payment address. I click on that. So details about a payment address. So if you just wanted to look at the raw JSON for this, that's what the Dash Site API is. So let me close that out of the way for now. And then I am going to go ahead and set up branch protections, because anytime that we get something to the point where it's actually used, I like to have at least pull request before merging, signed commits, linear history. And I don't think there's actually anything else that I want to specify for this branch. I don't actually want to require approvals yet, and the reason for that is there's not enough of us working on this for me to be able to quickly get an approval when I need to deploy. Quickly is a loose term, within a reasonable amount of time. I want to be able to get something approved and pulled in within a reasonable amount of time, and I don't feel like that's possible right now. So once we get more people working on this, I would check that box as well to require approvals, to have eyes on the code. And if we start getting a larger user base, then that makes sense too, because we don't want to break people's stuff. Let's see. Require deployments to succeed before merging. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create that. So, did that not go through? Let me try again. I definitely clicked it. It's definitely not doing anything. Okay, let me refresh and just try again. So no approvals, signed commits, linear history. There we go. And use security key. And where's my security key? Pull out of my pocket here. Okay. And boom. Okay, cool. For some reason, Brave Beta, so this is Brave Beta that I'm running. Brave Beta, and maybe it's because it's beta, doesn't allow Touch ID as a security key, whereas Brave does. I'm a little confused on that, but whatever. All right. Cool, so we put the protections on there, and then it's just the examples. This Dash site itself, only because I'm trying to create all of these as, I don't know what the right term is. I think the old school term would just be libraries. There would be libraries according to the solid development principles. There's only one reason that you would go in here, and that is to change something as it relates to the Dash, as the Dash Insight API. There's no other reason that you would need to modify this code. So that's kind of solid code. I forget what I don't know how to expand out what solid is, but it's one of the solid principles. SOLID. But there should only be one reason to change this. So only the examples have a dependency, a hard dependency on something else that isn't critically core to what this is. Let me go ahead and pull this up. So get out of this one, go into Dash site, and pull up the package.json. So if we look at dependencies, the only dependency that it has is .env, which, let me see, where's .env used? .env isn't used in any of the library code. So technically I think that should be moved down to, it is a development dependency. It is actually required for that. So that is wrong. And it's also required for some of the bins. So I think it kind of needs to go in there. Well, I can leave it there for now, it's fine. If you're only using it as a library, it's not required. That's why it's optional dependencies. Anyway, the request is all that we have as as a hard dependency. And then this is some of the stuff I want to get rid of. I want to replace dash evo dash core with dash incubator BlockTX. And I am eventually going to make one that is called Dash TX. And that is going to be, oops, let me grab this whole string here. And that's going to be pre-filled for Dash, because right now BlockTX is generic. It could work with any blockchain. And I think that is, well, with any Bitcoin-based blockchain. And I think that has advantage in terms of bringing people to Dash to discover tools that are useful for them. But in terms of for our developers, I don't want it to be configurable. I just want it to be, it works for Dash to the end. Streamlined, vertically integrated. So I'm going to make a copy of it that is just has those couple of magic bytes set, and that it's only configurable mainnet or testnet. That's it. But then the BlockTX would be the primary code and documentation. Anyway, let me go ahead and do npm install -s. And how's everybody doing tonight, to whatever it is, to wherever you are? Feel free to say hello. And I forgot to get doubly caffeinated, but it's all right because my mic was off before. So let's go ahead and pop a top, my friends. Oh no! Open focus all over the keyboard. Focus is dripping in the keyboard. The keyboard doesn't need focus. Oh wait, nope. No, it's just dripping down the side of the can. It didn't get to the keyboard. We're good. Oh, this focus is just below lukewarm. It's cool. It's not ice cold at all. It's been sitting there too long. My bad. All right. And then examples. So we're going to do, let's just take it from adders. Okay, these are just addresses that have things that we can inspect. What else is there? Balance transfer. Let's take a look at balance transfer and root out the Dash core lib. So this is going to be BlockTX. And I accidentally prefixed this. I remembered why I really prefixed these is because some of the things that I'm doing, they're just forks of other projects with slight modifications to make them more, to make it so there's less configuration, it's more streamlined, there's fewer packages. There's no compile step or transpile step. So that's the reason I originally started putting things under Dash Incubator. And the way that BlockTX got under Dash Incubator was that originally I thought that I was going to be modifying Dash Core. To modify Dash Core, I would have to implement the full transaction spec to do it without breaking compatibility. I'm not going to be doing that. So I called this something, and then I called it Dash TX, and then I renamed it to BlockTX, and it needs to get moved up to the top level. Except I don't think it can, because I think BlockTX is already the name is already taken. But that's what it needs to be. So Dash Core, so we don't need transaction because BlockTX gives us transactions. I just need to go take a look at the BlockTX documentation. This is what I always talk about, writing documentation. I can't remember how the stuff I wrote works. I don't know how anybody else does. I have to have the documentation. Okay, so we need a signer, and we need a sign function. Okay, so this is basically what we're doing here. So I'm actually gonna just, yeah, sure, we'll go with that. I could have sworn, oh, maybe we don't need the magic numbers for BlockTX. I'm trying to remember, is there anything that's specific to Dash about this? There may not be. Because at the core level, I don't think I don't think the magic bytes are here, and I think the magic bytes that define the network, the only magic byte would be version 3. So I think with BlockTX, we need to define version is 3. But I don't think that we need to define that for Dash TX. We won't need to define that. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Okay. And then we are going to need... Did I already copy the whole thing in there? Yeah, I did. All right. So we're going to need... I'm just going to call this sign TX so that... Because there's other types of signatures that we might want to do in this. All right, what's up, Angular developer? OpenAI stuff is really good at generating images. I use DALL-E. Give me a link to that because I have not yet actually seen where that is. I've heard people talk about DALL-E, but I have not seen any actual DALL-E. Right, I'm going to bump up. We're getting shadowy again. It's crazy. I started the stream, what, 15 minutes ago? Oh, half an hour ago, dang. All right, well, I will check out DALL-E. Well, it looks like it. Well, either they're showcasing stuff on the page. Let me bring this over here real quick. Either they're showcasing stuff on the page that's a lot better than before. You know, they're just cherry picking really good examples, or this has gotten much better. Because it used to have a hard time, for example, getting a horse with 4 legs. As recently as 2 months ago, it didn't seem to be able to properly generate. And even on this one, it kind of looks, yeah, see? It's got an ear on the leg. And this one has got a ballerina shoe on it. So it's, this is a human. This is a human this is like a ballet dancer for the bottom half, but mixed with a bull charger maybe, or bull, what do you call that? Yeah. I think that it's really, I would love to give some of the images it generates to artists and then say, I want something like this. I think that would be really cool because you can get a higher fidelity idea of what you're thinking and then get somebody else to do it professionally, or just do a low res version if it doesn't matter, and nobody's gonna care. Okay, so we've got that. We got our sign function, and then the way that we use this, and then this library is supposed to work in the browser. That's one of the reasons that we are changing this up, but for the sake of this right here, I don't think I need to worry about that. I do need to find out if Jojo Byte's on, because he and I still need to work on this. Are you gonna be on tonight? Should we talk about Dash site and crowd node? All right. So I need to go find where transaction is used. And then for my API, this is something that you find often when people are transcribing an API from Java, or if it's being auto-generated. Or I think that at the time that the Bitcore library was produced, this kind of stuff was just cute. It was hip at the time. But I just don't feel like this is very JavaScripty at all, because setters are just not very JavaScripty because they're not necessary. Let me check and see what were we doing here. tx.hash and sign all. And then private key. So I need to have some way to give the private keys. TX info. Uh-oh. Where's the private? Oh, get private key. There we go. Get private key. I don't like the ergonomics of this. I think we need to pass it in separately. I had it passed in separately, and I thought this was a good idea. I don't feel like this is bad, because if you make get private key a function, then when you console.log it, it turns into nothing. If you JSON stringify it, it turns into nothing, so you can't accidentally send it over the network. That's the reason I like it, but it just doesn't quite feel right. You're taking something, you're adding a getter in order to make something private, essentially, is what's being done here. So I don't think this is quite the right way to go about it. But whoops. There we go. Hash unsign all. So, uh-oh. What? Oh, hold on. I need to switch back to node at LTS, and then I need to npm install location global, all the things. I think I switched node versions, and so all of my JavaScript tools are now missing. There we go. Now if I do this. Okay, cool. Now I'm getting all of that. Okay. All right. No, I don't need that to do anymore. So what I need to do is basically find... let's see. I need to translate core UTXOs to inputs. I need to go look and see what core UTXOs look like. I probably should document that in the BlockTX stuff. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Ethan. It's good to see you. Oh, no! No! Mountain Dew all over the place! You are bad luck, my friend. I have never spilled Mountain Dew. I've been before today. But please come back anyway. Actually, I've got more stuff on my desk right now because I was doing some quote-unquote cleaning, which basically means making more of a mess in more places. Okay, let's get the dust off over there. I'll put this back up. I don't think I've ever spilled Mountain Dew. It's precious. All right, have a good one. Okay. So it might be good to have a little util that's from core UTXO and from Insight UTXO. Those might be some good utilities to have. Okay, let me see if I can find core UTXO. Is that defined anywhere here? Typed F. Index. Core UTXO. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And then I'm going to copy this over for the purpose of bike shedding. I'm going to copy this over to here. Okay, bike shed. Core UTXO versus Insight UTXO versus Block UTXO. And this is core UTXO. I could actually copy the typed F. Oh, the type def is right there. As in bitcore / dash core. I don't really want script. And I don't really want address because those aren't necessary. And trying to use those would pull in extra dependencies. Okay. Keys. I need to make a better example for that. All right, so what do these contain? UTXO has TXID, and that's spelled the same way. So win-win there. Or winner, winner there. All right, so inputs can be core UTXOs dot map. Well, let me for let UTXO of core UTXOs inputs dot push. Probably not going to be able to do that. Let's see. TXID is UTXO dot TXID. All right, and then we need output index. I think I could go for changing prev index to output index. I think that makes sense. So again, this is all about testing the ergonomics. That's what we're doing here. All right, and then address. But address is actually not necessary. It's not, address is not useful for this. Instead, we need something, we need a little utility function to go from an address to a public key. And again, I don't think that belongs in BlockTX because it has nothing to do with BlockTX. Payment addresses do not end up in the blockchain. Pub key hashes and public keys end up on the blockchain. Payment addresses don't. So, let's see, is there any... There's still a little wet spot here. From my... Oops, there we go. Okay. Up. So I'm just going to do pub adder to pub key hash. And then what else do we need? Sig hash type. This is going to be the same. That's something that I will make optional in -tx because you don't need it unless you do. Okay, we can use the subscript, which I guess I could be okay with calling it script. It's just scripts for a blockchain. I guess most scripts are subscripts, so I could be amenable to just calling it script for the sake of if we don't have to do very much to make this compatible with a Core UTXO, and I think Core UTXO would be the better one to standardize on, and it seems to be following the conventions that I already agree with. We probably can get the public key. Oh, no. So here we need the public key. Let me double check on that. I think that if we provide the script, I don't think we need the public key. Because the script, I can't remember whether the script contains the public key or if it just contains the public key hash. We can actually take a look here, and lower down, I think I provided an example of how this breaks down. Let's see, where's my glossary at? I don't have a glossary here. I must have it in an issue. Wasn't ready to post that yet. Okay. So we want to look for the signed TX is going to have a signature script, and the signature script is going to contain the full public key. And we could just count backwards. Almost, because we don't know what the length of the public key. It could be 33 or 34 bits. We don't know. But what we do know is that if we count backwards 33, let's see. If we count backwards to here, if that's a 0, then we need to count backwards one more. That's probably the simplest way to get the public key out of the script. And I don't know how I'm doing that presently, if I'm doing that presently. I need to go look at that. So I'm going to go back into, I opened up a new window here. I'm going to go into BlockTX. And I'm going to look at blocktx.js. And let's see, .public key. All right, so this is where the public key is first used. If not public key hex. So I think we could add a little bit more to this. I think we could say if tx input.script, and then we could say so we want to go, does JavaScript, I can't remember if JavaScript lets us do negative indexes or not. I know it lets us do negative slices, but if we say hello and we do -1, whoops, what does that give us? Whoops. Ah. Zero. Okay. And that makes sense because it's not a function. So if we did slice, and we would have to do from -34, I think, is where we would do that from. Let me just try this out real quick. So bring this over here a little bit. And then I'm going to grab public key. And then we're going to do .slice -34. Actually should include the one right before it as well. Oh, actually, this has to be, we have to multiply by 2. So it'd be 68. Negative 68. Okay. So negative 68. And then this is either going to be 0 or not. If it's 0, then the key is 34 bytes long. If it's not 0, it's going to be 21. So those are the only two possible options here. Is it has to be either 0 or 21. So let's do this. So let pub key hex, or I guess pub key hex equals, hold on, let me think about that. No. I need opposite. Sorry. So this should be, okay, length is either 33 or 34 bytes. If pub key hex plus 1 for identifier. Alright, so this should actually be a full 70. And then if 21 is equal to this byte, then pub key hex is equal to pub key hex dot slice 0 to 68. Else if 21 is equal to this byte, then it's 1 to 68, and then else throw new error. Script does not contain public key, or script is not a simple script ending in a public key. And I forget what the type of script that is called is. Okay. Or why am I getting all these? Why is it giving me a bunch of errors right now? Sig hash type. Just 1 second. Message. Okay. So I think this should work. If there is a subscript, we assume that that is a payment subscript, the simple type of payment subscript. We would have to update this for multi-sig scripts or whatever, if that's how that works. Although I think we don't. I have to check and see. I need to learn what multi-sig means, how it translates from the way that people understand it at a high level to the way it's implemented. It might not have a separate implementation. It might be the same implementation. I think it means that something requires multiple signatures to unlock a single output, which that would be a different implementation than what I'm supporting here. Oh, and this should be this should be 21 like hexadecimal. There we go. And magic numbers are generally not a good idea. Let's go ahead and demagicify that. Let pub key type equals 21. Or I would prefer actually 2 string. Pub key type. Pub key type. Oh, and I think that this is a 1 versus a 2. Yes, that is correct. So either way, we're going to skip that byte. Okay. So now I'm going to take this, I'm going to prototype it. We're going to do... And I think I need to update my example script so that it will just send the money back to where it came from. That way it's easier to run the example script over and over again, because you can just put in a private key that's a real private key, have it send money to the key that's used for the example, and then just have it send it back. Or, yeah, I need something better for that. Anyway, let's go back over here, and we're going to create a function real quick that's going to be our pub key from script function. And we're going to give it script. And I'm just going to use this until I decide how that should be merged in. This seems small enough that it makes sense to have it there. But to get to, I don't think, go to the address. I don't want to support addresses because that requires a base 58 check dependency, whereas getting a pub key hash only requires a ripemd 160 dependency. Okay. So one of the great and terrible features of Go is implicit returns. You can define a variable as a return. We're not using Go for those that are not programmers. I'm just making an offhanded comment. You could define something like pub key hex as a string as part of the output of a function, and then you can just return, and then it whatever it is set to at that time is what it returns. I think that this is generally, I've come to the conclusion it's generally a bad idea. It leads to more mistakes than not. However, it's actually required to use in the way that Go does error handling when you need to have the equivalent of a try-catch. Because Go's error handling is generally a lot simpler than it is in most programming languages, but in the rare exception where you need to have a whole bunch of code that has no error checking, and you're literally just going to say, if, and typically it would be parsers. So if I run into a parse error anywhere along the way, then I'm simply going to catch the parse error at any level. Because otherwise you end up with parsers, you have to check for this byte, and you have to check for the length, and then you got to check this byte, and you got to check the length, and you got to check. I mean, we just did a parser. That was the previous several sessions of this playlist, this Dash Wallet Dash Tools playlist. And it can be really obnoxious to try to catch all of those gracefully, and it adds to the overhead of your parser, because your parser is having to basically double check something, because the language internally is going to make sure that you don't advance an index past its memory location that it's allowed to have, and then you're also checking it in your parser. So if you want really, really good debugging in your parser, you'd want to do all those checks, but that wouldn't be the parser that you'd want to deploy in production in many cases, because you'd want to just let your parser do whatever it needs to do, and if it encounters a null value where it shouldn't have one, let the exception roll all the way up and then catch it. And in Go's error handling, you have to do that a little bit differently. And you have to use the implicit return, because you modify the return value in the equivalent of catch. I think it's called recover, is what's known as a deferred function. So it's a deferred block of code that will only run during the exit condition that's non-successful. And the deferred functions in general are functions, it's little blocks of code that no matter where you return, that block of code always runs before the return. I imagine that they probably implement it with a jump. And then that little line of code has a jump as well. It probably jumps either ahead or below and then jumps to the return. I'm talking about assembly code when I say jump. Anyway. That's not what we're doing here. That's just a side note. Okay. So, if we're looking at a core UTXO, the person is likely to provide the address. They're not likely to provide the script. I don't think that we actually need the address. So, I don't need this. Oh, and this is not public key hash. Sorry. This is public key. So I could just get rid of this, because the address can't go to a public key. It could only go to a public key hash. All right. And then subscript. Oh, so in this case, yes, we do need to do this, because I haven't implemented that in the library yet. So, script to public key. UTXO to script. Oh, what are they? Pub key from script. Okay, so given the cost benefit here, I think I will change the API of BlockTX to use output index instead of previous index, because with just that one change, then core UTXOs, oh, and then subscript to be script, because with that change, this can come straight across. I might differentiate between SIG script and script. Or I might distinguish between the other types of script, the null script, the no-op script. I don't know. I don't know what I'll do. But I think I will make it compatible with core UTXOs because they're so similar. If I wanted to make it compatible with Insight UTXOs, then I'd have to change the capitalization of TXID, and I would have to use vout, and I would have to... There's too many things that have to change from the way that I came up with doing it while I was imagining it intuitively. From the way that I actually... This is very similar to my own implementation. Okay. So with that out of the way, and this is actually optional here too, will be optional. Oh, whoops. So that probably needs to be moved to a function. There's probably another place where that public key is going to be needed. So put that public key. Text.create. Okay, so that's embedding the public key. Okay. All right, so this looks good. Okay, where was I here? All right, so those are inputs, and then these would be inputs. The one thing that I don't have in there, which again, this is another reason not to put it there. Yeah, I'm sold on this moving. I need to have a discussion with somebody else to help me convince that this should stay here. Wait, why is this upset? Functions declared within loops, yep. Too bad. Unexpected token on line 127. Let's go to line 127 to see what that's about. I don't see anything here that looks like an unexpected token. Okay, so it must be up above. Push. Subscript. Where are we opening this that we're not closing it? Why is it upset? Alright, help me see, y'all. What's going wrong here? Line 126. Line 127. Inputs. Oh! Right. TXID publicly subscript. And the subscript is the public key or the public key hash, because these two don't match. Oh, 88AC. Oops. So my logic is bad. Let's go back and change this. So it would be negative 74 to negative 4. We know that the last okay. Oops. Okay. Oh, I forget what that stands for. I probably documented it. Right. Okay, this looks... Why does this look wrong? Ah, this is the script we're creating versus this is the script that existed. So... Oh no! That's why we need it. Dang it. Okay, so we can only get the pub key hash out of the script. We can't get the public key itself out of the script. Okay. All right, so some of this stuff goes back up in the air. So 20 is always the size of the pub key hash. All right, so let me go back. Let me go back down here. No, not here. All right, so this is... None of this is going to work. This was wrong. This was wrong thinking. I was looking at the wrong type of script, which is, again, why I don't like referring to it as a script, because it gets confusing between the different types of script. Which one are we working with right now? Okay, so there... And the thing is, to convert from an address, it just requires a lot of dependency to convert from an address. So I think what we could have is we could support it in this style. We could say if not priv key, because that should actually be the... That's canonical. Alright, so if priv key, else... Oh, what was I just thinking? I had a thought and I lost it about how to get the public key. Okay, maybe it'll come back to me, maybe it won't. Maybe if I go look at what I just looked at. Signature value, full public key. Public key comes from either the public key or the private key. This contains the pub key hash, which is the payment address. I was thinking if there's an address, the address is useless, right? Oh, let me go back here. Wait, why do they have... Why does a core2uxo pass in the script? You don't need it for anything. It's not useful at all. It's not useful for the signature. I guess the only thing that it could be useful for is if you want to check that the public key that you're signing matches the address that this is coming from. I don't feel like that's the responsibility of this code. And if it's wrong, it'll be okay because it will simply fail. Okay, so address is still useless and public key is still important. private key is still necessary. So obviously the API that we need is to grab the public key from the private key. Oops, and this should be toString 16. And this should probably also be 88AC. Let me just make sure this works the way that I think it does. That the bytes end up in the right order. Yeah, they do. Okay. Oh, whoops. I changed the way I was doing that. Last two would be sufficient. The name of that. Okay. Sorry. That Dolly 2 thing is still up. Alright. Okay. Pub key hex, pub key. Pub key hash hex. Pub key hash hex again. Pub key hash hex, pub key hash hex. Okay. Oh. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to save this function for later, maybe. At least I'll put it in an issue if I don't actually end up keeping it. I just wanted to finish to round that out. I kind of want to test it too. This is not really along the critical path, but it's a useful utility script for something else later. So script to pkh.js. Script to public key process.argv2. Alright, so I should be able to take this script here. Doesn't have to be of any particular length. And then I should be able to just bump this back up against that 5.3c. Bump this back up against the 14. And then bump that up against the 76. And that should give us our pub key hash, which would be useful if we wanted to check against an address. Okay. Give me a second here to figure this one out. Okay, so then let's see. So this should be, interesting. Oh, because it's not so large. This is only 14 is what this should be. Let me just double check opcodes. And then this does not have any variability in size. So this one is quite straightforward. It should have 14 at this location and 88 AC at that location. And then that's how we know that it's the normal one. So that would be 20 bytes, which means 40 hex, plus 8 hex, plus 2 hex. So that's 50 total. Okay, so this would be negative 50. This would be negative 4. No. Oh, whoops. So this actually is 48. Sorry. Let me do that count one more time. So 1, 2, 3 bytes plus 20 bytes is a total of 23 bytes. So 23 bytes times 2 is 46 bytes. The last two would be what they need to be. And it would not be pub key type. It would be pub key PKH size. And script end. And I'm going to call this PKH hex, just so we can shorten these and make them maybe a little easier to read here. Maybe I should just do a find and replace on this. I'm just going to let it go this way for now. Okay, I am checking the chat, so if you got anything to say, want to say hello, feel free to do so. It's PKH size. So this would only be 1, because if it is not... this would not be... substring. This would be script end. Yeah. At param string script. There we go. PKH hex. PKH hex. Okay. Sanity check here. What's the size of this? Oops. Should be 46. That makes sense because it's 23. So we're going to skip. I know why. Because this would actually need to be substring 02. There we go. Ba-da-da-da. Okay. Achievement unlocked. Got that little bit of code there. Okay, again, that was a semi-tangent. I think that little snippet's going to come in useful, but we don't need it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. I just wanted to complete it before I delete it. We'll save it. We'll use it later. Okay. So now this private key thing is going to turn out to be important. And the way that we're going to do this is we already had private keys, right? Or something. Where was our first throw? Okay, keys. Yeah. All right, so we have keys. Oh no, if we do it this way, we don't have access to whatever I is. Darn it. Whoops. There we go. Okay, and for this, we would need to... I think what we'd want here is let whiffs equal this and let keys equal that. For let whiff of whiffs, keys dot push, and then we would need whiff to private key whiff. And that's basically just a base 58 check function that we need there. So we're going to implement that momentarily. We don't need the signing anymore. We do still need something for fee calculation. That should go with the transaction. And again, the fee calculation is tricksy because you don't know specifically how many bytes a transaction will cost until you reach the cost. You are guaranteed that a transaction can only, if it's one Satoshi or duff, as it were, although I'm more inclined to use the term Satoshi than duff, because Satoshi I think is actually more meaningful generally, unless we were to remunerate in a more meaningful way. But anyway, the fee, if it's 1 Satoshi per byte, then your minimum fee is 191 bytes. That's the least fee that you could possibly have. But because of the way that big ints are encoded in ASN1, you could pay 192, 193, or possibly even 194, although I haven't seen that yet. So I don't know whether that is actually possible or just theoretically possible. Because it seems like if I did 10 transactions, well, there's a 50% chance for each of them. In theory, right? I mean, a little one way or the other. But that would mean if you multiply half times half, you get a quarter. Multiply that times half again, you get an eighth. So if I did a transaction 20 times, I should pretty much be guaranteed to encounter a case where it's 194 bytes required. And I have not encountered that yet. I've encountered 191, 192, and 193. So I have a suspicion that the public key encoding that is right here, I have a suspicion that this public key encoding is actually not ASN1 encoding. I think that's what it is. I don't think that this is using ASN1 encoding for the big end. I think that it is always, even if the public key bit, top bit is high, meaning that the number is greater than 80, because that's where the first bit would need 0 padding in ASN1 big int encoding. So I think even if that bit is high, and I could test this just by iterating through a bunch of keys and trying it with another library and seeing what happens. But I think that it doesn't get the 0/0 padding. And that makes sense, other than that, because it may be the only thing that's actually ASN1 encoding here, because it looks similar to ASN1 encoding the whole thing. Well, in some places, yes, in some places, no. But it may be that the only actual ASN1 encoding is for the signature, and that may just be because the library that they decided to use when they created the signature was already using ASN1 encoding, and they simply did not decode it further. And that makes sense to do as well. That makes sense to just say, yeah, that this library uses ASN1 encoding when we create the signature. We leave the signature ASN1 encoded as is. But this whole block is ASN1 encoded, but the rest of it I think is not. There's no other ASN1 encoding. So this is not ASN1 encoding. Okay, so solved. 191, 192, 193 can't be 194 because this doesn't actually have the variability that I suspected that it had. So I'm going to update some notes on that. 191, let's see, 192, 193. I thought somewhere I had specified encode. Oops. Pad. Possible. Nope. So this one is a no. Public key value is not big int padded. Okay. Okay, So, and this takes it down to SIG script. The minimum, maximum. Okay. See, was there anywhere? Whoops. Okay. All right. So I don't know how we're going to do the fee calculator. This does not need a change. It doesn't. It does need a 2. So let's see where the payments to are doing something. So we need outputs. Outputs need a pub key hash. Ugh. And there's not a good way to do this. So we need adder to pub key hash. That function we need. So those are 2 functions that we need to draft up. We need to draft up with to private key. This is going to be async. And we need to have adder to pub key hash. And I do like breaking convention here because value and Satoshi and something else, I think there's 3 different things that have been used, but they get used cross. So sometimes value is Satoshi, sometimes value is a string, sometimes it's a number, sometimes it's whole units. So I think renaming this from Satoshis to units is the best possible way to go. Because it makes you stop. It's not familiar with what the other libraries are, so it makes you stop and think, okay, well, what is this? But this is not used anywhere else, so if you see units, you know it's an integer, not a string, it's an integer, and it is the unit value. Now, one could argue that it should be a string, because I don't think JSON is specified. I don't think we have a new revision of JSON with big int support. I think that we need that. But we don't have it yet. Okay, so we're not going to worry about that one right now. Don't need to. Don't need from. And should there be some sort of change functionality? know. It just seems like that seems kind of like a useless abstraction. And what I said earlier, meaning several streams ago earlier, about me thinking that the reason that the size difference, the payment difference had to do with the compressed ints, the var ints, it was both right and wrong. I was not encountering the payment fee difference being because of var ints. That could have an effect on the number of bytes paid, but I was not encountering that issue. The issue I was encountering was a matter of the padding, and it seemed to be random. Okay. And then this is optional as well. And I don't really want any convenience functions. We could potentially have something like a max fee. Or a max tip. So we could say this is going to calculate the fee and then if you're I don't know how we want to handle the fee. But I could say this. Pub key hash adder to pub key hash change adder units spendable duffs minus fee let fee equals 193. Wait, spendable. Oh, okay, right. So in this case, in the case of a transfer, we don't need change. So we can just put output straight there. We don't need to specify the fee twice. Fee equals base fee. Okay, so base fee is 193. Alright, the cost of of a typical single input, single output TX is between 192, let's see, depending on signature padding. There we go. All right. Somebody was supposed to come to pick up something, but they're not going to because of weather. Okay. All right, so BlockTX create. So let me see what I've got here. We do have a root base 58 check, which I think we can swap that out for Dash incubator base 58 check. I am not 100% sure that they're 100% compatible. So let me go ahead and put this incubator. And I may roll that up. So I'm considering, let's see. If you have a payment address, you don't actually have the public key of the person that you're sending it to. Oh, I didn't finish my thought. Oh, we need to pull this over. So we can now use Dash incubator. Let's see, what was that? Oh. It's just the other file. I'm trying to be helpful. For all of these, we now have Dash incubator versions. So I'm gonna wipe these out and then reinstall them. npm install save dev, and then we're just gonna figure out what version we're on now. Well, I guess I'll just get rid of at root base 58 check because we don't need that. Okay. Remove 29 packages. That's what I like to see. Yeah. That's the good stuff right there, my friends. Oh, but I didn't finish my thought. So my thought was I'm thinking about moving RipeMD into base 58 check. The question is there a use case where you would need to use RipeMD apart from base 58 check? And it seems like there might be. But I'm not really clear that there is. Where there might be is, so in this library, we're assuming that we already have the pub key hash by the time we get here. So the wallet library seems like the only place where you would ever actually be doing a pub key hash and then maybe a signing library. So maybe I need to do a little bit more before I make that determination for sure. But I know that base X can be included in base 58 check because there's no other places in the entire ecosystem that I'm aware of where we use base X. It's only used for base 58 check. And I think that we could take that a step further to say that the only place where we ever use base 58 check is when we're dealing with keys. So all of the functionality that you'd ever want to use with base 58 check, you're only going to be using it with payment addresses and WIFs. I could be wrong. There could be something else where it makes sense to do that, but I don't think there is. And the RIPE-MD, the only place where you would use it independently of base 58 check would be if you are taking a public key and turning it into the pub key hash. But again, the only place I've ever seen that done is in a wallet where you're generating a payment address. And you could do it at a lower level for the sake of consistency, but I think that that kind of debugging type code actually belongs at a higher level. Or you just implement it independently. It's part of your developer dependencies, not part of your shipping dependencies. Okay. All right. So what was it? Where was I at? I was just in. We're looking at the examples. We're looking at the balance transfer. Looking at the payment address. Looking at the WIFs. About that. So what I want to do is actually let fs equals require. Oh, this would. Oh, okay. Whoops. This would go below. Right here. fs node / promises. Can we do that? Or maybe not. I think we actually can't use the promises version in this configuration. No, we can. Okay, good. Don't remember, we do need the TXID, we don't need address. That's the one thing that seems like it's just kind of weird that it's included here. Because it's already included in the script. So why have it twice? Okay, payment address. fs read file sync. So let process.argv to equals WIFs path. WIFs path. We could use Dash site to get this information in the first place. So if not WIFs path, then process.exit1, and we're going to console.error. Usage, what's this thing called? Balance transfer .js, and then whiffs.txt to payment adder. Wait, none of this actually uses Dash site. Okay, so this example needs to be updated anyway. Alright, hey, how's it going, by the way? I need to have a little chime that goes off when somebody joins in. Okay, nobody should be able to hear that echo of the music. Now I'm listening to the music too. It's very low though. I don't think it's being picked up on the mic. Let me know if there is an echo from the music. Okay, base fee, dust. And I think dust was actually set to 5,000, not 2,000, but whatever. Okay, so let me take a step back. Ah, here's our little whiff to adder. I need to double check. I don't think that base 58 check under Dash Hive. I think the API is slightly different. Let me see. 14 commits ahead. So what's different? This is mostly changes to the key format. Alright, so this is still necessary. Alright, that's fine. Okay, I need to go check the documentation for that, but not now. need to do that before I publish any changes to this. Right, example transfer. Update depths, we don't need that. Package lock. Lift header, okay. I guess I might as well go ahead and fix this. Alright, let me go look at the documentation for that. So what we're looking for here is sec p 256 k1. Somebody messaged me a dinner photo. That's why I chuckled. Alright, so did we want random private key? I think that's what we wanted here. No, we don't want random private key. We want a specific private key. Uh-oh. Wait, how do we get a private key? What is a private key? Private key, yeah, okay, great. So private key is simply the bytes themselves. That's awesome. That makes sense. That is a beautiful API. It is what it needs to be. No more, no less. Okay, that's fixed. And I think I also need a whiff to private and a whiff to public. How do I get... The problem with the buffer is that it encapsulates a uint8 array. And I forget how you copy just the section that you need. Because if you take a buffer's buffer, it has a lot more in it. The buffer has a buffer, I think it's a 4K chunk by default, and it will... Yeah, more memory is allocated than what you're going to need. And if you just grab the underlying buffer, you get all of it, which will include a lot of garbage. Lift to private key. That might be good enough to keep, actually. This is so small, I think I'm just going to copy this. And then BlockTX comes with utils that I need for some of the other stuff. So, yeah, U8 to hex. So I think I need another function. With to private key. Oh, whoops. Oh yeah, we got that. That's right. Public key hash version. I don't actually need that anywhere else. So it's fine to just have that here, I think. Right? 4C. Okay. So where did I need that to private key? Oh, I needed to public key is what I needed. Or to pub key hash. With to private key. Okay, I named it the same thing. I just need to get rid of it here. Okay. And then I need adder to pub key hash. So that way we can just put that here. Adder to pub key hash. Adder. Hard stop. Pub key hash. Trying to think, did I have that as... I think the private key is always a buffer. I think everything else is always hex. PKH hex. PKH hex. Okay, again, that's so tiny that just seems like... Alright, this is adder. This just should go in there. Adder to okay. So maybe all of these functions should be provided. I have to think on it. Yeah, I guess, so there are a few functions that we may want to optionally allow to be provided. And we might even, because they're so small, we might even want to go so far as to include them, but make it so that they're only there if you add the dependency. So this is something, it's a little controversial. Well, not controversial. It's not well supported in the ecosystem. So I have done this multiple times, and I need to get back in touch with. Frost is the guy who runs socket.dev, and socket.dev is a security tool that will check for peculiarities in your package. And one of the peculiarities it will check for is if you are requiring a package that's not included in package.json. And maybe the way to get around it would be to put it in developer dependencies, although that's kind of, I guess that kind of makes sense where it ought to go. But we could include these functions and say, if you want your application to, you can overwrite these functions if you want, because there's going to be about 5 functions that are each this long. This is how long the functions will be, each of them. So it will be, if you want to accept the defaults, then you should use these dependencies in your application. But you get to choose. If you're using something else, then you just take these 5 functions and you replicate them however you please. And it's going to be WIF to private key, private key to public key, and let me just whip that one up real quick because I already had it right here, I think. Yeah, get public key. Let's see. Priv buff. And then it would be public key. I actually don't think we'll ever need this one, now that I think about it. Well, I think we might need private key to public key. We need that one. But what we don't need, probably, is hash public key. And that was already in here as well. And then I would want to use the browser-friendly version of this, not this version. So let me see. I have that in... where do I have that? I think I have got it in Wallet. Nope. Not in that one. Where do I have it? I'll find it real quick. Crypto subtle SHA-256. If I could just type the top row by touch. There we go, that's it. Let me see, what did we call it over right here? SHA? Hash public key, it's going to be pub buff, and we're going to call this SHA, we're going to call this PKH, we're going to return PKH, and pub buff, there we go. Oops. With to enter. And I may change the RipeMD to have a .create. In fact, I may have already done that. I should check and see. Interesting that I didn't rename this. I'm gonna rename it now. Let's see. Yep, I did make it so that we can call create. Good. Ah. There we go. RipeMD. Let hash equals hash hex equals PKH. There we go. So it would look like that. So these are the functions that we need. I need just a cheat sheet for this in general to just put these out there, because they're just little annoying little buggers. Okay, anyway, I just wanted to write that so that we've got it. I'm going to copy that somewhere else. I might actually create a Dash Hive cheat sheet and just put some of that there. Okay, so we're off that. So out of the spendable UTXO, so we've got our whiffs. We need to read file sync whiffs path, and actually, well, that's going to be okay. let whiffs text equals, and then whiffs is going to be whiffs text dot split. So this will be whiffs lines. So what we want to do is say whether it's a /r or /n, any number of them. And then let whiffs equals for let line of whiff lines. If line whiffs dot push line dot trim. There we go. Okay. So I want to answer the question you should be asking, which is, why did I do that instead of using .map? And the reason is that I am developing a language called GPT script. The idea behind it is that it should be something that would be a tool-assisted language. So you, as the developer, are going the life is going to be better when it's tool assisted, and just generally there's going to be an explosion of tool assistance because of GPT, hence GPT script. And GPT script, I think I'm going to create two languages, GPT lang and GPT script. And GPT lang and GPT script are going to have basically the same goal, but one is going to be a language that uses garbage collection, and the other one is going to be a language that does not use garbage collection, that is memory managed. And that will be the difference between the two. And GPT script, I want to have the minimum number of required features in order for it to be a usable language. And so one of the things that GPT script has is that you can only have one operation per line. I have to figure out what operation means, but you can only do one thing on one line. And since we have four, and we have for each, and we have map, and we have all of these convenience functions, is it worth having any of the convenience functions? Because the convenience functions, generally speaking, are slower. Not always, not in every situation, but generally speaking, the convenience functions are slower across the board, not necessarily in the Chrome implementation. But when you chain them together, while they could become slower, it could be that the JIT just figures out to inline everything. I don't know if the JIT actually does that. The just-in-time compiler is what I'm calling the JIT. It would make sense that since it's such a heavily used language feature, the JIT should inline them. So what I mean by inline is if you were to write the code, let's say, if I did whiffs.map, this is the other way that I would write this. I would write it as whiffs.map. Oh, the other problem is that both languages need to be asynchronous, I think, and map and the other tools of the array methods, they don't actually work asynchronously, and so they not only are they not necessary, they're problematic, they're buggy. Anyway, so what I could do is say return line.trim. Or actually, I guess what I could do is I could say map. Yeah, return line.trim.filter function, and then return line. So this would be the other way to write what I just wrote here. So lines 80 to 87 and 89 to 95 are equivalent. I would imagine that the Chrome team, this is such a common pattern, I would imagine the Chrome team would have some rules in the just-in-time compiler optimizer that if you chain array methods together, it would just inline them. And so what I mean by that is that it would literally do this. I mean, if I were to write it out, I would just be changing it back into this. That would be inline. Is that you combine the functions together and then just shift the memory locations around so that the functions can continue. You have one set of operations that runs without jumps. Anyway, so I'm experimenting. I haven't written out the spec for GPT-script completely. I have some bits and pieces, but as I consider more what the language needs to be, I adjust my code style to that style to see how much the ergonomics benefit or suffer. One of the great things that I'm pretty much all in now about the GPT-script concept of only one operation per line is that you don't need comments, because in case someone doesn't understand what's going on over on the right side, the left side tells you what it is. So I could have done fs.readFileSync. Oh, whoops. And I actually do need a UTF-8. So it communicates intention as well, right? So if you look at this, whiffs text equals, and then you look at this, if you know that readFileSync actually requires a second argument, which is too bad I don't get a little squiggly on line 78 to let me know that I've screwed that up, but I have. So I can look at whiffs text and I know, okay, the intent is that this should be text. Read file sync. Oh, this is returning binary. Okay, so let's make it return text instead. And actually we can do ASCII in this particular case. And then, okay, that looks scary. What is this regular expression all about? Whiffs lines. So whiff texts, we split it on something and that produces lines. So these must be line endings. You know, these are my whiffs. Okay, that's empty. So what's happening next? I'm looping over line of whiff lines and I'm trimming it into, we could do, actually this would be the more appropriate thing to do. So each line is a whiff. So this is actually, for someone reading this code, this is actually going to be much more clear than if I were to just chain things together, because the intent is communicated. Every variable name effectively serves as a comment for what that line is doing. So if you write code in this way, then you don't need comments. If you start to put things on multiple lines, then you need comments to explain what the thing as a whole does. So that's part of my goal with GPT script, is that if GPT were trained on this data, it would be able to produce more correct code because the atomic components of the code. So if you created a language that was designed for tool assistance, then then the tools could learn from the language, from what you provide in the language, because that everything is parsable as the language. And then yeah, anyway, you get correct output. Okay, so, and then I do need to go from, I need to actually do adders here as well, I suppose, because I need to figure out what information is on these. So let's also do let adder equal, and then we need our whiff to adder function, which is what we originally had this for. Okay, and that's a little bit more. It's a bit more of a stretch. But we could probably... Yeah, I'm just going to pull it in. So where did I put those functions? This one was 4C, if I remember correctly. It's 4C. Pub key, private key. Got it. Alright, so hash public key. And that would be, again, wasn't that just right up here? I had it somewhere. Ah, hash public key. So I guess I need that one after all. Alright, so there we are. And we actually end up needing that RIPEMD. What was it complaining about? Oh, right. Crypto is not defined. So that is... shems crypto node.js. And then we're going to create shems, and we're going to have... Let's see, does this have any shems already? No. Well, actually it does. It's going to have crypto node.js, and then this is going to just have module.exports equals require crypto. So I'm actually there we are. So normally I would just do require node crypto.subtle, but in GPT script, an expression ends if there is a function call. So I call them accessors. So an accessor may end in a function call, but it cannot extend beyond it. And that's just, I'm trying to define the logical boundaries of where important stuff happens and would need to be commented or becomes confusing. And that is the logical boundary. Now the reason for this is simply because if I wanted to make this browser compatible, this is where... Actually, I think... Oh, whoops. I don't even need to do that. Hold on. Let me go back. Because it's called crypto.subtle in the browser already. So I don't need to export subtle. There we go. Alright. Private key to public key is defined but never used. So far. Let's see about that. Alright, so now I've got my whiffs and my adders, and I've got my whiff to adder. Let's see, adders.push adder. And this is going to be what? Whiff? Okay. Actually, I could go ahead and do this too. And then I could do Private key. Private key. Lower the music? Is the music too loud for anybody else? Oh, my daughter's here. Hold on. What's up, Addie? What? Your cheek is hurting again. Let's see. Does it hurt? Okay. All right. Well, you know what? We gotta call the doctor. It's okay. We just need to check and see what's going on. Hold on a second. 2 minutes. Pause. Let's see. Hold on. We're back, almost. Okay, so this morning, my daughter woke up and Supposedly she was already awake, and then she started eating a Pop-Tart, and then her cheek started to swell. And so what I thought that probably was is just some sort of bug bite, because when you're in a new environment where you haven't experienced certain bugs before, or you're very young, you are not often, there's a likelihood of having an allergic reaction. And I've had this happen to myself before, and I think, let's see, I know I had it on one occasion. I think somebody else had this happen. I've had it on 2 occasions. But you know, it's possible to have an allergic reaction to bug bites or foods that are new or whatever, and it's not necessarily serious. It's not necessarily something that's going to continue on, but it's just your body's trying to figure out, whoa, this is weird. What just happened? I haven't experienced this before. So I was figuring that's what was going on. But after a few hours, well, several hours, the Tylenol is worn off. Swelling hasn't gone down, so I needed to figure out what are we going to do about that. Because it seems like the likelihood should be that, I mean, I would think if it was just a temporary allergic reaction to a bug bite in the morning, it'd be gone by now. And, you know, it'd be different if she had smacked her face or something like that. But according to her, her cheek was not swollen when she woke up. I don't know whether it was or wasn't. Could have been already. But it certainly started hurting when she started eating, if not already in that state. So, little life update there. So my wife is on top of it. She's going to take care of it. Okay. All right, and this is good. Switching back to this here. All right, whiff to private key. Because we're going to have the whiffs, the keys, and the addresses are all going to be in the right order. And then what I'm about to do is get... Let's see. Okay, music volume is a bit too loud. All right, well, I'll tone it down a little bit. It's at negative 24 dB, which I think is pretty standard. Is my voice audio too low? Okay. I think the problem we have is not the music is too loud. I think that my mic volume is actually a little bit lower than usual. And this is because I had a problem with OBS and I did some stuff. Let's see. Let me see. I'm going to adjust the properties on the mic. Okay, now my voice should be a bit louder. And I don't think I want to take it too much louder than that. I might take it a little bit louder than that. Okay, so now we've boosted my mic. I don't know why my mic is lower. I'm going to check my system settings real quick too. Because maybe it's not OBS, because I shouldn't have to boost OBS. Let me go check. That looks right. Interesting. Oh! There it is. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, I don't know what's causing this. But what's happening... Let's see, ratio, threshold, negative 6 dB. Okay. What's happening is that for some reason, I did just update to the new operating system. What is it called? Ventura. I don't remember if this started happening before or after the upgrade to Centura, but this has happened or Ventura, but this has happened a few times now. So what's happening is that my input volume is being reset on the mic in the way that it seems like it would be reset for the built-in mic. So I'm not sure why that's happening, because the background sound was right. Okay, so background sound was the right volume. My mic had been adjusted by magic / ghost / Apple knows best. Okay, let's see if there's something else. I mean, I'm going to check and see if there's anything that the program I'm using that would be modifying the mic by mistake. Okay, let's check this. So right now I'm peaking around -6, but if I go loud, then I get up to -3. Whoops. And now we're back. Okay, so it's not that. That didn't reset it. I'm gonna have to make it part of my start OBS script. So let me just search this out real quick. So detour, mic input volume OSX. Apple script set mic input volume. I'm just going to have to make it part of my process for starting OBS that it sets the volume. I wonder if there's a way to do a specific input. Okay. Apple script set all input volumes. Hey! I know that guy! This is all output volume. Oh, hold on. Yeah. Whew, okay. I will have to go in about an hour. Okay. So I'm not sure what to do there. But I am going to go into OBS Beyond Code. And I am going to set input volume 100%. Let's see. Apple script, change input mic. Okay. Well, we're going to try this out right now. All right, let me bring this up. Sorry, this is, somewhat tangential, but when it is broken is the right time to fix it, as my sensei always says. All right, tell system preferences to activate. Tell system preferences, reveal anchor input of pane ID, Apple preference sound, and tell. Delay tell to tell process system preferences, tell table 1 of scroll area, blah blah blah, field 2 is built in. So I think what I want here what? So what we need to do here, because OBS I use the raw Yeti, I use an aggregate device elsewhere. So I'm just going to go to sound real quick. Okay. So I'm in my sound preferences. And so we're going to do Yeti stereo microphone. So this would be, how do we do this? Is these comments? Yeah. Built in, and we're going to change text field 2 to Yeti stereo microphone, right? Yeti stereo microphone, that's USB. Then we're going to Intel. And then we're going to do, my other one is called Mic Plus soundboard, and we're going to tell it to set its volume to 100, and then we can quit system preferences. I'll probably make this a different, let's make this its own script. So let's just copy this here. Right, and then we'll make a input volume set max, and then we'll do chmod a plus x input volume, and then here I will call input volume set max. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this real quick. I'm going to change my input volume down a little bit on Mic Plus Soundboard. I'm going to change it down a little bit on Yeti. And let's see how this fares. Input volume set max. No. Oh, that's because I need to tell it's an Apple script. Duh. What is .AppleScript, I guess. Okay, so, whoops. What did I do? Yes, so bin input volume set max to, can I, we call it shebang AppleScript. Don't we have an AppleScript shebang? Yeah, we do. Cool. All right, so let's not change the name of it. Instead, whoops. Let's just go back up to the top. And that hopefully will work for us. Okay, input volume set max. Why am I not surprised? It said 88. What? There's no line 88. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to figure this out some other time. Let's see. I will try just a couple more things here. Put some delays down. All right. And then I'll go back. All right, activate. And ah, crap. It's not paint IDs anymore. Now it's whatever else it is. Okay. Mac OS, Ventura, AppleScript, set input volume. Okay, Ventura is really important here. Well, before I actually, let me go back here. So this one, no. No. All right. Let me just see what the error message was. Any ideas on how to update this for Ventura where there are no panes anymore? Sorry we're off the beaten path here, but if I can fix it, reveal anchor. Okay, echo works 1, works 2. Actually, let's just go hardcore on this. Works 2. Works 3. Works 4. Works 5. Works 6. Oh, whoops. And I'll just set input volume. Good old console.log, baby. Uh-oh. Unexpected end of line. Oh, crap. Duh, we're not in Bash. Apple script echo. It's probably print or say or something like that. What? Oh, man. Alright, I think I'm getting crappy answers here. Maybe this is something for Chat GPT. Alright, well, I'll put this aside. This is obviously taking longer. It's not fixing. Oh, wait, no. I'm going to try one last thing. Just one last thing. Okay, so what was it? Do shell script. So I'm just going to replace echo with do shell script echo. Okay. What? 45. Okay, maybe we can't have these. What did I do? How did I break it so badly? Oh well, alright, I'm done. I tried. If somebody else wants to figure that out, I'd appreciate it. If anybody... In the meantime, let me not forget to go back to sound and turn the sound back up all the way. I mean, that stank. It didn't even what? All right, we're going to figure that out. Okay, so we're back here, and what was I looking for? I was looking for how we're going to use Dash site. That's what I was looking for. And we've got our base URL. Oh, heaven help me. Hold on just a second. I totally forgot to pull. Who knows how old this stuff could be. All right. No! Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay, examples, balance transfer. And then dash site dot create. Let's see where else that's used. Instant send. So in this one, dash incubator. I was kind of expecting. Dash site. Okay. Dash site. Base URL. Okay, something's going wrong here. Oh, maybe I do need to be. And let me check and see what's going on. If we go to, where's that? BlockTX. Let me see if there's an open pull request here. Okay, so this was not actually this has been published, but this has not been pulled in. Oops. All right. Okay. Get cherry-v. Oh, that shouldn't be a big deal. Why would that be a problem? Okay, I don't see where any of this is problematic. Oh, well, let's check and see. That makes sense. That's not a big deal. I guess I see why. Okay, get diff. I am so confused. So you say. All right. Well. This may replace number. Oh, this one's got 14 commits. So what are the last few commits? Oh, okay, yeah. This makes total sense. All right, got it. Got it. All right, so the local one is correct. It just has... I wasn't ready to pull all that in yet because I was still working on some of the other code that was dependent upon this code. And so I hadn't changed it, and now it's been, a few weeks. Bruh. Oh, and now we probably have a little bit of an echo from the music. Dang it. All right, let me go just over here. Okay, now I'm very confused. I have no way of lowering the volume. Hold on 1 second. Let me just play a sound. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, now... Alright, now the mic shouldn't be picking up an echo from the music anymore. Oh my goodness, so many audio problems. So git stash pop. Alright, both modified package.json. That makes a little bit more sense. So we don't need this one. We don't need this one. That one's already down there. We don't need this one. And we don't need this one. Alright, so we're updating all the dependencies. Dev dependencies. Okay. Now, examples, what is it? So Ben, create TX. There we go. And then do we have here an ENV? I don't know if there's any secrets in this or not. I'm just going to take this off screen for a second. Okay, there's no secrets in here. And I think I put in the README. Dash site.dash incubator. Oh, whoops. Was that wrong? Dash socket insight. There we go. There we go. And then there's dash site. Oh, boy. Now, dash site is defined but never used. That's can't be true. Oh. There we are. Okay, so we're almost there. I need to get we've got all the utility functions. We need to export that into some sort of cheat sheet that we can reference later because they're just they're little itty bitty functions that you need all the time. They're the glue functions, really, because it all depends on which. They're the functions that, how do I explain this? They're the interfaces. They're the most common interfaces. That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, because they would be, everything else needs to depend on these functions, but how you choose to implement them is going to be 2 or 3 lines long, but you're going to choose to implement them based on what your code base already looks like. Because if you're already using one particular library versus another for the different bits, then as far as dependency creep goes, they're where all the dependency creep and problems happen. So they need to be an interface, not a concrete implementation. I don't know what the better word for that is. Okay, so now we have dash site dot. Okay, and what is the create, listen, got it. Okay, dash site get balance, get instant balance. Get UTXOs. Wait. Adder. Okay. Dang. So this function ended up being really useful. Let me go take a look at, again, insight UTXO. Oh, and I defined a function already, 2 core UTXOs. So where's that function defined? Am I exporting that? 2 core UTXOs, I sure am. Oops. Wait, but don't I want... I do want this. Insight.toCore UTXO equals function insight UTXO and then we do want a toCore UTXO. That is valuable of its own merit. Okay. toCore UTXO. Insight UTXO. Alright, and then go back here. And then we need toCore UTXO. toCore UTXOs. Got it. So that right there, that little change, hold on, get reset, bloop, index, dash site, no, index, is it just index? Yeah, and dash site. And we looked at the cache differences here. Feet, expose, toCore UTXO. Singular. All right. And this, of course, would be dash site. I wonder if I should pair these up. No, I think it's easier to read this way. Somebody give me feedback on that if you care to. But I think this is easier to read. Okay, cool. All right, so and that actually is core UTXOs. Kind of want to let this sit here as an example. Because all the rest of them are pretty cut and dry. This is one that you might have to go back and re-reference, you know, something else. So, let's see here. Let payment address equals okay, missing semicolon. Oh, right. Okay. And I've about got to go. I'll probably be back later tonight to continue on with this, because give me 3 more minutes. It's always just a few more minutes. Oh, there it goes. Yes. Yeah, just 2 minutes. I'll be there. Just go, and I'll be there in just a second. All right, love you. Bye. Okay, so actually, I do want this to be. Okay, then I don't need that example. This is good. Got that example. I don't need to worry about prototype stuff because I'm not using something that has prototypes, so we can forget about it. I actually should, yeah, I should just turn that warning off because I don't ever use prototype code. And I do need to just change my code to avoid that. Okay, there's not this. Okay, serialize, and we're going to return. Let's just see what happens if we run this. FS. Oh, whoops. Node FS promises. Come on, chat. Where y'all at? You're supposed to tell me when I screw stuff up like that. Oh, whoops. Okay. Okay, now I had a private key somewhere, didn't I? Isn't that the whole point here is I had actual private key that was usable. Thought I did somewhere. Okay, what have I got? No private keys here. No private keys here. We got adders. I don't have an example of a private key. Interesting. Okay, well. Let's see if I can make one real quick. I will make one by... Or, hold on. Let's see. Okay, I've got a key that's got very little dash on it. Let's see. Balances. Let's see. List. Do I have an XDR in here? No. Okay. Give me just a second. I'm checking on an address to see if it currently has any value. And it does. Okay, great. So we are going to do this. We are going to do... We're gonna transfer from a thing to itself, is what we're gonna do. So I have examples, balance transfer. I guess we have to do node, examples, balance transfer, and then we can go up one into wallet and just transfer it to itself. Let's see. Oh, right. We can use promises, which means we don't need read file sync. We need await. Okay. Pub key hash link. I think I forgot to return on something. Function adder to pub key hash console.log parts. Just put a debug here. I know. Give me. Yes. I'm coming. No, we didn't call 10 minutes ago. I know. I'm right in the middle of something. Oh, okay. All right. I'm coming. I love you. Bye. Crap. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I gotta go. Let's see if there's somebody we can pawn y'all off on. Let's see. We're gonna raid RWX Rob. All right, everybody. We'll catch you later. We'll fix this later. Adios.